Seems to be Mr. Billy. It's available right now. Okay, let's try to invite Mr. Billy. Good morning, good morning. Hello, Mr. Billy.
Good afternoon. Well, it's afternoon here. It's
Yes.
afternoon here in New Jersey.
Wow. Thank you so much for attending this interview. And I know the time it's quite different. It's early morning here in Australia, in Sydney. It's 5 a.m. I was waking up like 4. I was preparing.
Oh, wow.
I was preparing, make sure everything is it's correctly. Okay, I'm not gonna wait anymore. So welcome, Mr. Billy. My name is Alblen from Australian National Review. So for those of you that watching, all my viewers back in Indonesia, Southeast Asia, and also in Australia, this is Mr. Billy Prempeh, America's first congressional candidate from New Jersey, District 9. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, man. I mean, we've been trying to set this interview up for maybe 3 weeks now, but like so many time differences. I've been all over the place, so I'm glad to finally be on with you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Well, it's a blessing for me that I can be able to connect with you. I know there's a lot of there's a lot of viewers in here that when I mention your name, because I think everybody's like really amazed at the fact that you were standing there next to the real man, Mr. Donald Trump. So I think a lot of people that here supporting Mr. Donald Trump in Australia, anybody that supporting Mr. Trump and either a candidate or a political figure, that current political figure, we always wants to get involved and obviously get the get interview with them, but obviously because the access sometimes it's quite hard. But anyway, Mr. Billy, I'm not gonna wait because I know you're busy. You mentioned to me that you will be having an interview with OAN too. So I'll be starting with the question, if you don't mind, Mr. Billy. How about if you introduce yourself to all the viewers in here? I know it's not many people watching, but I'll be posting this on Australian National Review website and also on my page too. Go ahead.
So, first off, how's it going, Australia? Thank you for having me on as well. My name is Billy Prempeh. I'm from Paterson, New Jersey. I'm running for Congress in New Jersey's 9th Congressional District, and this is my second go-around running. I ran before in 2020, and I ran a very strong campaign with minimum funds and a small team. We were able to get more votes for a Republican than anybody's gotten in District 9 in the past 30 plus years. And one of the things that I think led to that was running in a city like mine, which is a very big inner city where Republicans don't really come in and get involved, but that's led to a huge unaffiliated voter base across the 9th district. And I'm running on a lot of policies that are just straight up kitchen table issues that is on the mind of every person. I mean, even though I'm a Republican, I believe that all Americans share the exact same issues. It's not, just Democrats making an issue or Republicans making an issue. At the end of the day, our children, they require a better education. I would like to push for stronger education programs inside of our school, teach children about different skills that can have them prepared for the real world as soon as they get out of high school, bringing more opportunities in manufacturing back into New Jersey's 9th district, as well as other underserved communities that were previously strong manufacturing destinations, such as Irvington, New Jersey, Detroit, Michigan, and Canton, Ohio. Many places like that across the United States where manufacturing is left. I want to incentivize opportunities where business owners can get tax advantages for bringing their manufacturing businesses back and providing high-paying jobs back into the community. And I decided to get into this race because after living here for such a long time in Paterson, people kind of glorify it in music and in videos that, living in the hood is just a good thing. But it's really not. When you have a lot of friends that have been shot and killed from gang violence and many other things, after a while you kind of have to ask yourself, I can sit here and do nothing about it and just complain, or I could move out. But then again, this is my home. I know what it's capable of. My hometown is a very historical landmark. Essentially, it was very influential in clothing most of America when this country was initially founded. It was one of the first powerhouses, and it's gone into serious disarray because of internal corruption, and that's going on both sides of the political spectrum. So I decided to get in this race. I've disrupted quite a bit with a lot of my ideas, and I'm unifying bases in a way that no one's been able to do in a very long time. I've been able to get some national acclaim on several news outlets spreading the message that I'd like to bring first, because the current leadership is putting other countries, other corporate interests above the interests of the people. And I'm an America first person. Like, I want to see America prosper. I don't give a damn about somebody's pocketbook or someone's finances. I'm primarily focused on the betterment of everybody in the United States as a whole. And it's my generation that's going to decide that. Give me 1 second. Someone can go. Give me 1 second.
No problem, Mr. Billy. It's quite interesting, like for somebody like Mr. Billy Prempeh, that obviously born and raised in Patterson, running for a candidate in a congressman. So that's something that we need to follow. Guys, that's okay. So I'm gonna stop you right there, because I'm gonna go to that question in regards to the policy. Okay, so I know you're talking about that, because now first question that I want to know is we know that you're a political candidate, okay, in the United States. What are your current political view, and what does your party represent?
So in terms of what the party represents, I can only speak on what I stand for. I myself, as a conservative, I believe in reducing our budget and actually focusing on things that better the American people. I'm not a big fan of interventionism and spending extra money to finance other issues outside of the borders of the United States. And as a United States veteran, I believe that our biggest purpose is to defend our country. We shouldn't be the policemen of the world. I want to have our country protected, focus on our country, and most importantly, secure our border. Back in October, I went down to the border between Mexico and the United States, and it's astonishing how big and how wide open the border is. There's lots of gaps, and it's been completely left practically to the control of the cartels. They're using it as an opportunity to make business, smuggling people into the United States, smuggling drugs into the United States, and it's very easy for them to do this. There's nothing that that could be done by the Border Patrol, because their hands are tied, and the policies the Biden administration is putting in place is leading to all kinds of human trafficking across the country, drugs flooding into our community, and it's very unfortunate to see that. So I want to see our border secure, hold our country together, and I even have plans to deal with the current immigration crisis we've got in the United States. I think President Trump had a pretty reasonable solution to deal with the immigration problem, but I wanted to expand on that. Like, what I believe is we already have millions of illegal in this country. We don't know the exact number, but it could be upwards to about 11 million illegals that are in this country. And one of the problems that we have is we don't have enough judges to actually process these cases and even get everybody out. And to be honest, it's going to be a logistical nightmare to try and track down every single one of them and get them out. So I offer an ultimatum that I think makes perfect sense, and I think it's reasonable, and I think it should be based on merit and what they could actually contribute to America, rather than just being here and living off of it. So what I'm proposing is, if anybody, from the time that this legislation passed, I call this the American Dream plan, is by the time that this legislation passes and it's put on the table, anyone that's been in the United States 5 years prior to that point with a verifiable work history, that means if you're a business owner, you're not going to be penalized for hiring anybody that's there illegally. But if you can prove that this person's been working for you and show it, that person will then be responsible for paying taxes to the United States. They'll be recognized as a taxpayer in the United States. And given that they're able to stay out of trouble, they don't get arrested, they don't do anything nefarious within that 10-year period, they'll be granted citizenship at that point. I think it makes sense because, for one, it's going to cost a lot of money to get them out of the country. They're already here. Let's get them out into the open. Once they're out in the open, give them an opportunity to actually earn the right to stay here. Because it's a nightmare. But before any of that can even be done, the border has to be secured first. We have to get more judges in place so that we can ensure that these illegals can be processed into the country effectively, and make it amicable for both sides at the end of the day. And to touch on the education aspect a little bit more, the Freedom of Education plan that I propose is I pull a page from the school choice handbook. I don't know if you guys have choice schools in Australia, but
no, we don't.
So choice schools are basically, like, rather than the public school system, they're essentially private schools or secondary schools that are privately funded rather than public. So if they don't have if the education isn't good, obviously you pull the funding, the school can completely fail essentially. So it's very dependent on the results that they can put out rather than, hey, it's tax dollars, I'm just going to run it however it's run. Despite that, not everybody has the opportunity to go to a choice school. So I want to see our public schools do just as well. And the way that I see we could do that is by turning our public schools into not just education centers, but career centers as well. I want to create like a career superhighway from these high schools. And what I would like to see is people that have already mastered their craft in several different professions, whether it's in the trades, finance, IT. I want to see these kinds of business professionals partnering with our schools, give these business owners a tax incentive to teach our children how to do what they do. And they'll essentially create a workforce that can do something once they come out of high school. They'll be leaving high school with a certification where even if they choose to go to college or they don't, they still have something that they can fall back on and have a high-paying career. That goes in tandem with the Revive America plan I told you about, with getting businesses to invest back into our communities and take control of these damaged and dilapidated factory buildings. If they're willing to do that and they're willing to take up that risk of rehabilitating these buildings and hiring people within our community, those businesses will also receive a tax incentive for doing so. So that's how we're able to stimulate our economy, get our manufacturing back on track, and we're preparing our children for the future. And it's essentially an investment in America. It needs to be done because we're bringing people from overseas to fill jobs that Americans could easily be filling themselves, but we don't have an infrastructure to train these children. So why not partner our education system? It already has an infrastructure, and partner professionals who are already mastering their craft to lead that path forward. And these are some of the ideas that I want to bring into Congress when I get to DC. See, so as you've noticed, this isn't a Republican talking point. This isn't a Democrat talking point. This is an American talking point. This is what's going to push the country forward. And I think that that's the most important thing at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, since you do bring it up about your policy, that will lead to my question. But I've noticed that your policy, it's kind of like similar what President Trump's complying. But because I know that Mr. President Trump's that, reduce tax, energy independent, fighting the child trafficking, like what you mentioned before, America first, bringing manufacturing back from China. So what's happened with the policy, that current policy right now? So you're telling me it doesn't work, yeah? Because obviously, there's a lot going on in America because of this administration, Biden administration. Like we can see the increase of the price of the gasoline, and we can see the job. It's not, a lot of people not having a job because obviously, it's not all about America. You know what I mean? Now, I want to ask you a question in related to in what era that you were in the military? Because I know that you're Air Force veteran. Because we're hearing the war in Iraq. Okay, the war in Iraq now, it's a false flag. Okay, so they were telling a lot of around the world that they have like a mass of they have a weapon mass of destruction, but they couldn't find it. Now we're looking at Ukraine and Russia. Now, what's your thought about that? Since you have a military background, yeah.
So I was in the military between 2009 and 2011. I served and supported Operation Odyssey Dawn and Operation Enduring Freedom. I did not agree with a lot of the reasons that Obama took to get involved in a lot of these wars in the Middle East. So I'm someone who's a non-interventionist. So long as our country isn't attacked or our special interests aren't harmed in any kind of way, then I don't believe that our military should be getting involved in anything. That even includes what's going on in the Ukraine. Like the situation in the Ukraine is terrible. It's tragic, and the only people that are the casualties of this is not the Russian government. It's not the Ukrainian government. It's the civilians themselves. And there's a lot of misinformation that's coming out from all three sides: United States, Russia, and Ukraine. So to be honest, I don't have a solid answer answer as to what the solution should be. But what I can say is this: is like I think there needs to be a conversation that must be had between all three parties to come to a conclusion. But in the meantime, when you were mentioning our energy independence issues, the Joe Biden administration decided to not just scrap the Keystone Pipeline, which wasn't completed yet, by the way, but also.
Yeah, sorry, Mr. Billy Prempeh. No, do you think there is a political agenda in here from Obama administration and Biden administration? So do you think there is a political agenda here that, because a lot of people well, there's news circling around that what's happening in Iraq, it's a false flag, and obviously, what happened with the corruption that Hunter Biden did in Ukraine, it's a political agenda. Do you think it's related to what's happening in Ukraine and Russia?
That's a possibility, but I can't confirm that. So I'm only going to speak on what I can confirm.
Yes.
What I can confirm is that the United States, as it appears right now, is still financing both sides of this. Like, we're sending weapons, we're sending aid, we're sending all kinds of things to Ukraine. But at the same time, Joe Biden is purchasing oil from Russia, and he's recently put an executive order to stop purchasing oil from Russia, which has now led to even higher increases in gas prices. And he's trying to work out a deal to purchase oil from Venezuela and to purchase oil from Iran. Yet he's not tapping into any of our oil reserves that we have in the United States or any of our natural gas reserves, which is even leading to an even higher increase in gasoline. So if something isn't done in the next 6 months, America could be facing a very serious crisis. And everything that this administration is doing makes absolutely no sense. We're focusing on what's going on overseas and outside of our country when we have all the solutions here in our homeland to actually resolve it. Yet he's working with countries that have never really had our best interests at heart. And he even recently reached out to Saudi Arabia. They don't even want to speak with the Biden administration in terms of getting them back on track with their energy. So I think what Biden is doing, in my opinion, I think it's kind of going hand in hand with what I've been researching about the Great Reset. It appears that he's trying to collapse this economy as much as possible, jack up interest rates, and who knows, possibly put us on a digital currency. That's what the talk that I'm hearing from the World Economic Forum. And all of the things that the Biden administration is doing doesn't seem to be America first. It doesn't look like he's pushing our country forward. It looks like he's regressing us and pushing us backwards in favor of people who could care less whether America does well or not. So when they get on television and he starts saber rattling and talking about how they're going to be tough on Russia and they're going to put sanctions, they're going to do all this stuff, it's hypocritical, because you're purchasing oil from their allies, you're purchasing from Russia, but you won't do anything to actually put our country right back on the map and give us energy independence while gas prices are at an all-time high. Instead, Jen Psaki and Putin will go out and lie straight to your face and tell you that because it's Vladimir Putin, that's the reason why gas is going up, because of the war, and it really has nothing to do with that. It's just the incompetency of his decisions that's leading us to where we are right now.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, it is. We all know, around the world, I think it's watching what Biden did to the American people, especially. And because the Biden administration, America, it's always the pioneer in everything. So even, Australian people is always looking at the American people, American politics and stuff like that. Now, what happened with COVID? What happened with COVID? It seems to be like the focus now, it's not all about that. I shouldn't mention about that word because I'm super banned on this Instagram, and I'm pretty sure you are super banned too.
Yeah.
And what happens? The focus now is not all about that. It seems to be like the focus, it's all about the Russian and the Ukraine. And here in Australia, there is no airtime. They're talking about that anymore. Is it a similar thing that's happening in United States, Mr. Billy?
Well, yeah, it's I would say that it started in the UK, actually, where the whole conversation of COVID started to change, because when Boris Johnson was telling everybody to wear your mask, show your card, do the vaccine, just shutting down businesses, making life difficult for the average Londoner, well, UK citizen, I should say, while making life difficult for them, he's out hanging out with his friends, getting drunk on champagne, no mask, gallivanting in the backyard, and they take pictures, and the parliament and the MPs got very upset about that. Like, you're telling everybody else to follow the rules, yet you're not following it, right? And then he announces, well, March 17th, we're going to raise all COVID restrictions. We're going to end everything, and country's going to go completely back to normal. Then in Canada, Justin Trudeau tried to enforce these mandates on the people. Then they had the truckers convoy and said, we're just not going to have that. And they practically brought most of their economy to a standstill for several days. I believe it was about 2 or 3 weeks. They were able to maintain that protest. And even recently here in New Jersey, there was a trucker convoy that I also participated in as well too. Most of the people that were here are already in DC, making their voices heard. And the thing that was ironic about that is the day that this convoy is about to begin, it's also the same day that Joe Biden had his State of the Union, about 2 days after this convoy begins. But he has the State of the Union speech where he mentions they defeated COVID because everybody took their vaccine and everybody wore their mask, and we're going to have to lift the mandates and everything's going to go back to normal. Even though for 2 years they hit us over the head and said that everything's going bad if you don't wear the mask and you don't follow what they're talking about. The same day that he has the State of the Union, Pfizer.
I think we should avoid mentioning all these C and all these vaccines, because
it's difficult. But it's like, yeah, I know. Look, facts, man. When the FDA, when Pfizer reached out to have the FDA block the adverse side effects report for 97 years, the Supreme Court ruled against it and said, no, you can't do this. Back in October, they tried to do this. They ruled on it December. Not too long ago, those documents come out the day of the State of the Union. And in that adverse effects report, you see that there's 9 pages of adverse effects that could potentially happen if you take that injection. Suddenly, now we're at war in Ukraine. Everything's completely changed. Forget about everything that they were talking about. Forget about the fact that they try to lock that information up for 97 years. We got to focus on what's going on the other side of the world right now. And the truth is, there's been conflict in Ukraine for as early as 2013 for issues completely unrelated to us, and now we're trying to stick our head into it. They're trying to join NATO for obvious reasons. They want to have some extra leverage, some extra protection. Russia at the same time doesn't want NATO in their backyard, which is in the Ukraine. They want Ukraine to just remain neutral. And there's a lot of people in Ukraine that want to remain neutral. There's some that want to join NATO as well too. So it's a very complicated situation. So when I see some of these politicians saying, well, I'm siding with Russia or I'm siding with Ukraine, I'm like, both sides have their own individial complexities. We need to just completely stay out of it, give them their support, stay out of it and focus on us.
Yeah, that's right. But what's happening in Ukraine, and I think people need to understand, like, Russia, it's already there since 2013 or 14, if I'm not mistaken. But so what happened? It is quite it's quite complex because what's happening over there. It's always there's another layer. You know what I mean? In terms of the because they the mainstream media are saying it that it's invasion, which is the Russian people saying it that it's a peaceful. I don't know what they call it. Something peaceful. But so it is. There's a lot of misconception here. Now I want to talk about the price of the gasoline. Okay, the price of the gasoline, because here in Australia we can feel it. The effect that what's been happening at the moment. So the price of gasoline is on record highest, as you know. Now at the moment during Biden administration, how did Donald Trump can keep it so low, and is this Russians' fault? What's been happening with the price of gasoline?
If you were Russia, you would sell gas to the United States as well too. It's like if someone's going to buy your product, you're going to sell it. And if you know America's a huge consumer,
it goes to $7 at the moment in America, if I'm not wrong.
I don't know about $7. I do know that the highest I've seen in California was $6.30. It's probably the highest I've seen so far. In New Jersey, it's $4.87, which is the highest I've ever seen it in my lifetime. So that's pretty wild. So if we're gonna go and if Russia's gonna continue to sell, knowing that America is gonna consume, of course they're gonna sell it to us. The reason why gas was quite low under President Trump was he was tapping into the natural gas resources, was tapping into the oil fields, and he was opening up contracts and leases to allow these oil manufacturers to continue to drill in the United States. He didn't want to have the United States dependent on Russia or dependent on Saudi Arabia or any of these other countries on the outside, especially knowing that the United States has abundant gas reserves. We do. We just don't tap into it. So we were, for the first time in quite some time, we were selling gas. We were exporting gas to several countries as well, too. And as soon as Joe Biden got into office, one of his executive orders was to not just scrap the Keystone pipeline, but to also stop tapping into our resources as well in favor of the sustainable energy, which is not sustainable as of right now. Like the technology just has not reached the point where we can completely depend on it. But he shut that down and lies to the progressives in our country, saying like, oh, well, our country is going to go towards sustainable energy. We need to kill off gas because it's killing our environment. Yet you're buying gas from Russia. You're trying to buy gas from Venezuela. You're trying to buy gas from Iran. You're lying to the American people. So when I see this, it doesn't look like it has anything to do with any of the sustainable nonsense that they're talking about. And it just shows me that this is just a plan to cripple the economy and practically bring America to its knees. And that's the way I see it right now.
Well, it's clear what obviously Biden administration. It's not all about the people in America himself. Like we here in Australia, we can feel it. Like the price of gasoline, this is like probably the highest, if I'm not mistaken, because I went to a petrol station to fill up my fuel. It takes me 20 minutes because that many people on the last day when they're gonna put it up the price on the last day, it was queuing up for 20 people. I mean, 20 minutes. So it's just,
oh my God.
It's crazy because now I think the price of gasoline in here, it's $2.25. So
a liter. So you guys go by the liter as well, right?
Yes, yeah, that's right.
Yes, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's right.
Crazy.
That's right. Like if you saying that in California the prices go up to $6, oh my God, that's crazy. You know how people can survive. You know what I mean? Like you be spending more money just towards everything. Obviously, the inflation, not just on gasoline, it's gonna be in every price. I mean in everything. You know what I mean? But now I want to talk about I don't know if you want to answer this question. Okay, so do you think the election 2020 they will decertify?
Do I think they'll decertify?
Yes.
I don't know. I don't think there's enough right now for them to decertify. There was definitely some nefarious stuff that happened in 2020. But anybody that believes that there wasn't anything, I don't know what they were looking at. But there were tons of inconsistencies in that election.
Oh,
so
we know that.
will they decertify? I don't know. I don't think they will, honestly, because like there's also quite a big swamp here. But what I will say is this though. I'm a big proponent of securing our elections. I think transparency in our elections is the most important thing that needs to be done. So a part of my political platform as well too is to introduce legislation that will put our elections on the blockchain, because I think the blockchain technology is one of the most transparent and probably the best solutions we have at being able to determine who's actually messing and manipulating with our votes and make it a trackable system that can be verified. If we have a system like that in place, it's the most secure way. Whether you have voter ID or you don't have voter ID, whether you use ballots or you don't use ballots, whether you vote in person or not, so long as your voter ID is associated to that specific blockchain, it's public, everybody has access to it, it can be verified, and we'll know exactly who's missing our election. So 2016.
I thought that program that you mentioned about the blockchain program, I thought that's already been implemented during the Donald Trump administration. So it hasn't. Okay.
No.
Right.
So even now, the Biden administration is trying to sign an executive order to crack down on cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology. And I believe that's one of the main reasons why they don't recognize Bitcoin or any of these cryptos as legitimate currencies. Because if they do, then they'd also have to accept that blockchain technology is legitimate. If they accept that blockchain technology is legitimate, then there's no excuse as to why we can't secure our elections with the blockchain and make it publicly transparent.
Right. So the reason why I'm asking you about the certify the election of 2020, because there is news circling around about that Mr. President Trump, it's actually still the current president. I'm pretty sure that you're hearing this from America to from every state, because people thinks that Donald Trump's still the current president, but Biden administration, we know that he's been cheated and stuff like that, with the ballot and stuff like that. Now, what's your thought about that? with the
I
news
honestly,
circling.
I've never heard that, honestly.
Hmm.
What I can say is, like, I think there was definitely something shady that happened during the election. Will they
Yep.
decertify? I think that there's a lot of corruption going on within our country where it may not even happen, even if there
Yep.
was solid bona fide evidence. I just don't see that happening. Um, I don't know. I've never heard that he was still president. That's something I haven't heard.
Well, yeah, yeah. No, I saw a video, circulating around in couple of other platforms that American people was talking that the current president is still Mr. Donald Trump, and but yeah, obviously I want to confirm that with you because obviously Mr. Trump yourself, you met him, and yeah, so that's the confirmation that I get from Mr. Billy Prempeh, I guess. But now I wanna talk about this Hunter Biden case. If you want to answer that, what happened? Like, they found the evidence, they found the laptop, but why they never bring it up? All of this stuff now, is it because like it's part of their distraction? You can say that what's happening in Ukraine and Russia, and then is this how they're playing the game for to shut people's memories? And your thought?
There could be a lot of reasons why we're in Ukraine, but one thing, like you said, that's for certain is that laptop is definitely real. There was definitely some shady stuff they found on that laptop.
Mm.
He was working for Burisma. He had absolutely no energy experience, yet he was on the board. He was making over $58,000 a year. He's kicking back money to his father. His emails are verifying that. He had all kinds of crazy pictures, videos of him smoking crack. All
We
of it is
saw
very
that.
public. All of it is very public. But the mainstream media does a very good job at downplaying, shifting, and distorting the narrative of reality, and focusing people's attention on things that are unrelated or even unimportant in the larger scheme of things. So I think that's why nobody's talking about it. But Tucker Carlson actually did a really good, not Tucker Carlson, Judge Jeanine Pirro did a really good expose about it on Fox Nation, where she was breaking down the Hunter Biden laptop and the whole entire chain of command that they had going on when he was working with Burisma. So it's definitely a fact that this guy was doing some shady stuff in the Ukraine. It's definitely a fact that Biden went over there and said that if you don't fire the prosecutor that's investigating my son, then you're not going to get the money that Barack Obama was giving to them for aid. This is a fact. He said this. He admitted it live on television, but the media will never try and
Why,
promote
why,
that.
why nobody responding though? Like, if
Well, because
for example, if you're a political figure, especially like you're president of the United States, and you've got your son doing the wrong thing, you know what I mean? Like, isn't that there is a congressman or people in the government that can, hey, it doesn't matter that you're a president's son, you still need to get punished. You know what I mean? You do the wrong thing. This is what you do, and you need to go to jail. You know what I mean? Why there's no? It seems to be like everybody have the same rhythm. Like they zip it up. That's it. Don't bring it up anymore.
well, a lot of these politicians are bought. A lot of these politicians that, especially some of the ones that are all rah rah and say they're going to do something, but they don't do anything. A lot of them take donors. Take funds from donors. A lot of them have their own special interests. A lot of them have their own personal reasons for not rocking the boat and just playing along to get along. Some of them are just focused on poll numbers and getting reelected rather than actually doing what's right. And the media is also going to do a very good job at trying to paint anybody that questions or calls that narrative out and making them look as crazy and buffoonish as possible. And some people just don't have the spine to actually stand up for the truth, frankly.
Wow, that's crazy. Now, before I want to play you some video, but since there is a technical fault with my other camera, now I want to ask you this question. It's quite interesting because we've got a New South Wales premier just recently visiting one of the town. It's called Lismore. Now, as you know, I don't know if you pay attention with Australian news. Now we've got a situation here that it's been raining for the last 5 weeks, and it's 24 hours, and we've got like flood everywhere. Now, the premier of New South Wales visiting this town, and he was doing an interview with the press, and he mentioning this word, build back better. So that line, it's actually, I've been what you're laughing. I mean, that line. we've been watching American news. We've been watching so many the politics in America. Every people in America, from Hillary Clinton, Obama, Biden, and you name it, ScoMo, the governor of New York, and everybody, it seems to be like they're using the particular word that build back better. Do you think that's some sort of like a code line that they've been using it for
the Great Reset? It's the reset.
The Great Reset.
Yeah, and many of the people that are involved in the World Economic Forum tend to say the exact same thing. So that's the way I see it. It's just another way of saying that we're going to reset the currency, we're going to reset it, and kind of put everybody on this unified system. At this point, it's like anybody who claims that somebody's a conspiracy theory about this is definitely not opening their eyes. Like, the World Economic Forum is very real. They've made their intentions very clear on what they want to do, and this is and seeing so many power players across the world on the political scape that are involved with the World Economic Forum and involved in lots of economic decisions for certain countries and for the world as a whole. It just shows me that there's definitely something going on where they're trying to, what it seems to me, collapse the world economies and bring in this new type of system. So I see that, and it's very apparent. Anybody that doesn't see that, I mean, like, I would say do some research.
Yeah, they need to wake up. Well, it's interesting that you mentioned it's some sort of like a reset, because it's funny that what's happening in Lismore with the flood and stuff like that. A lot of people do research and stuff, and so we found a document that saying that in this town in Lismore in Australia, they have like a master plan of building a new development. So it's interesting that you mentioned about it's actually those words. Build back better, it's a reset, because we've got that proof, because they're planning to build the whole town, and it's pretty much land to grab. So it's quite interesting. It's quite interesting. And Mr. Billy, I know you're busy. You mentioned that you'll be having interview with another platform. Now, I want to bring some audience here so that if they want to ask question to you in related to American politics and stuff like that. So hopefully, I think we've got one request here. Yeah, just wait for the connection. Yeah, a lot of people like obviously wants to, get some sort of like an insight what's happening. Hello, sir. I believe this is Mr. Tim.
Hello, Billy, and hello, Alblen. How are you?
How's it going?
How are you? Very good.
Nice to meet you, Billy, and it's been great watching you chat with Alblen and doing a bit of research on you as well. And thank you for standing up and having the balls to put the real issues on the table over there in America. We unfortunately don't have that kind of leadership here in Australia at the moment. Our Prime Minister just came out the other day and said they're spending $50 million on new nuclear submarines that they're buying from America, and our Prime Minister's name is Prime Minister Scott Morrison, and they've dubbed the submarines the Morrison class because they're impossible to find in a crisis. So this guy is just, when we've got bushfires in Australia, he's gone to Hawaii, and he's just stagnant and gone during other things here. Really, at the end of the day, he's just a puppet and a yes man for the whole agenda that's going on, unfortunately. But it's great to meet you, mate. It's great to have you here, and we're honoured as Australians to be able to have a chat to you, and hopefully you're an up-and-coming winner in Congress, and we hope to see you make some great changes in America as well as here in Australia.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. I really appreciate those kind words. And the people in the comments, they're commenting on your beard, man. They're saying your beard's pretty awesome. I agree.
Yeah. So I'm a bit of a fan.
Come out though.
I'm a bit of a fan of the Diesel Brothers, the boys from America that build all the cool trucks, and
Nice.
It's a cool show. And like I'm a mechanic by trade, so I spent a lot of time in the military here in Australia as well, but you guys really build some cool stuff, so it's cool to see the trucks that you guys build. I've got friends just up the road from you in Long Island that have a big transport company and do similar sort of things that that we do over here in Australia. So it's great. But one of the questions I had, and it was on behalf of Alblen as well, he's asked me to come on here as I've had a bit of a military background and to ask you some questions as well, is here in Australia, mate, we've had terrible trouble with veteran suicide, and it's probably touched a lot of us. I personally have friends that have passed away from suicide who are ex-military in the veteran community. We've had a Royal Commission looked into it here in Australia to try and work out what the hell's going on, why there's such bad stuff happening here. What's it like for you guys over there, mate?
I don't think it's any different, honestly. But the United States under President Trump, they also invested quite a bit of money into revamping the VAs and getting some extra health services to the veterans so that they're able to have access to mental health care facilities and mental health care procedures. So it's an issue that I think that goes hand in hand with war, and it's one of the main reasons why I'm not a big fan of intervention or even getting involved in wars unless it's absolutely necessary, because there's long-lasting effects and there's casualties. It doesn't even have to necessarily lead to someone dying on the battlefield. Many of our veterans are killing themselves long after the fact because of these traumas that they experience in battle. It's a very tough issue to resolve, and I think that the best thing that we can do is continue to fund these programs and even expand those programs in any way, shape, or form. A lot of these men and women, they put their lives on the line to do things that many would never even think of doing, and I think the fact that some of them aren't getting the full adequate health care that they deserve is I think it's disrespectful and it's shameful, not just for the United States but for other countries that are not putting those veterans first. I think that they should be some of the most revered people in society, and I believe that that healthcare needs to be promoted to them even more so. There's a lot of veterans that leave the service that have no idea what their benefits are. For example, when I came out of the Air Force, I had no idea of a lot of the things that I qualified for. I even just recently applied for several benefits that I qualified for in terms of healthcare. I hurt myself pretty bad when I was in the military, and didn't realize that there were things that could be used to remedy. So I think also educating our veterans and educating our active service members of what their rights are and what resources can be provided is very important. I didn't necessarily get that kind of information until 10 years after the fact, or 11 years after the fact. But that's something that I would like to see a lot more of.
That's fantastic, mate. It's great to see your views on that, and hopefully you can continue the legacy. I did see a video with Mike Pence when Trump was holding the fort there, and they did say what they were actually being able to do for the veterans over there. So it's great, and hopefully that can continue with you guys as well. My second question, mate, I did read a bit into you advocating for school choices, which you answered with Alblen as well, and views on Second Amendment. With I guess the false flag attacks that we've seen that happening, you see a lot of the actors that there's a lot of theories that go around it, but then certain people turn up at certain other places. What are your thoughts on what could be coming up and some troubles that could be happening with false flag attacks and obviously chipping away, as they have been a long time, for the Second Amendment?
When you say false flag, I'm not too certain what you mean by false flag specifically, but what I can say is that I've noticed that there's a very strong push to try and get rid of the Second Amendment or minimize the effects of the Second Amendment. And seeing what's been going on in Australia, for example, you guys gave up your guns not too long ago. I believe it was about a decade, maybe 15 years ago. You guys, got rid of the guns, made it a big thing. Everybody was talking about it. And, seeing how this pandemic just went through, they were practically rounding you guys up and locking you guys in quarantine facilities. And I couldn't believe my eyes. I mean, and I'm starting to see a lot of very significant changes to society in Australia happening over there. And I don't think any of that stuff would be possible if the people had the right to defend themselves, or they had the right to challenge their government when their government was on the wrong side of history. And I see that they're trying to push that agenda and push that narrative here in the United States. But there's a lot of people that are not going to go down easily and go along with that kind of crap, because there's like, not only has the United States seen its whole entire history has been rife with conflict. The people can see what's going on for the most part. So I think that's something that should be defended and protected at all costs, because the Second Amendment is not about, you know, hunting turkey and hunting ducks like many of the media outlets try to portray. It's about actually having the right to defend yourself and protect yourself in the event that the government turns against the people. Not that a situation like that should ever happen, but if it ever did, it is the right of the people to abolish the government and start a new one if for whatever reason the government does not represent the will of the people. But guys, I'm sorry to cut this short, but I actually have another interview I'm about to get on in about 8 minutes or so, so I got to cut out.
No problem at all. Thank you, Mr. Tim, Mr. Billy, and thank you. I understand that you're a busy man. I know we have only 8 minutes left. Now, I want to bring one more person in here that have a question for you. Just won't be long, Mr. Billy.
No, I really got to cut out. I'm sorry.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they're actually messaging me right now, so I actually got to cut out.
All right, no problem. Yeah. So we're gonna hopefully.
Thank you very much, Billy, for your time this afternoon, mate. And
we can follow up. We can do another interview whenever you would like to set one up. Though we could definitely do another one.
Okay, absolutely, no and good to.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Tim.
Thank you.
Go on, Tim. Yeah.
Thank you.
Look, Mr. Billy, thank you so much for your time, and hopefully we can set up another interview. And I've got Mr. Dominic here. We can set up another interview later on with Mr. Billy. And look,
Billy,
thank you
so much for your service. I don't think we understand the implication of having the position that you do so strongly and vocally, that you are going to change the world with that, brother. And I just want to quickly just say, God is on our side, and power to the people. We're going to win this thing. I believe that the Great Reset is already starting to crumble along with the narrative. And I pray that that hits America like we're starting to see in other parts of the globe. But we'll let you go, and good luck with your next interview, brother.
Thank you, gentlemen. God bless you.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Billy. Well,
ladies and gentlemen, Dom and Alblen, co-host here at Australian National Review with Mr. Billy Prempeh, the prospective candidate for the first Congress office of America. And what a bloody good interview that was today. For all of the updates, be sure to follow Alblen Fabe and Mr. Billy Prempeh's Instagram below. I'll end it there.
Well, thank you so much, Dom.